Wednesday, 2005. I'm calling the Columbus Art Commission meeting to order. The next business meeting is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at 12 p.m. The next scheduled hearing is on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 at 4 p.m. here at 1111 North Front Street, second floor, room 205. Would like to swear in the staff. Now we move to swear in the staff. Wait a minute, Nadine. Yeah, I'm reading the stuff, Sophie. Do you swear to or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you.
Very much. Staff call the roll.
Yes. Right.
Now we move to public forum. No? Gotcha. No one today? Let's move to approval of minutes of the last meeting. Minutes from the last meeting?
Second.
We have a first and second. Second by Shelby or? Not you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Let's have it moving forward. Applications.
At the Dell Park. This is pieces, including a proposal for a deputy's space. The Friends of the Dell Park proposing to install on the Dell Park. The RFP window opens on December 1st, which may close February 1st this year. RFP received 76 submissions. Until a space from your own intersection. Finalists for this first round of artists in the Dell Park are Dylan Beck. Examples of their work can be found in the materials. Working on a project to add space into the park to accommodate. The project is expected to create 5 to 7 large concrete pipes of a 60 to 65 tall, and then the applicant is currently working with one of the Shrubland Parks to get approval for this project. Questions regarding the materiality, maintenance, and safety of some of the elements. The applicant went through the application prior to the June BBC here. Prior review and approval from BBC prior to receiving a request for action review from the council. The staff analysis is code section 3115.05 states that the commission should be guided for the maintenance of the proper values, for providing and maintenance of orderly balance in the location of the light of deterioration in and around public buildings and possible. Those will be generally meet code related to it's related to hearing for a consumption review at this. Foundations. It has included a call on it. We have a projected timeline and it's free. On my list.
Have representation here.
Yeah.
Got you. Please state your name and affiliation.
I'm president of Friends of Eagle Park. Jeff Smith, I'm on the committee.
Do you all, you can raise your hand, you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Got you. From here?
Sure, I mean, that's a pretty good rundown.
Okay.
I mean, the RFQ, the proposals are due back today, actually. I'm struggling with a sort of non-communicative. So, yeah. So, yeah, the projects or the proposals are due back today. There's Sophia mentioned, there's 6 finalists. I think some of them are doing multiples, so we may have more than 6, pieces to review. And the general timeline is we've got our jury selected. We hope to do the jury like in middle of July, like 15th-ish, because that lines up with the BBC meeting and your August approval meeting. We'd like to get these things like commissioned and rolling later this summer, because we'd like to get them in the ground spring. So I know there's not too much to show you at this point because we don't have all the submissions in. They're coming in as we speak. And I know there's been some concern about maintenance. That's kind of where, we're kind of loggerheads a little bit with the city right now because they don't have a maintenance budget. So the rec and parks and development are going back and forth. They're just going to maintain these things. But we've expressed to the artists that it's public art and it's a city park, so it needs to be low maintenance. So we're hoping that stress will be reflected in their submissions.
That is a requirement of the submission that they provide maintenance costs. If we don't feel that's adequate, we are going to go back to them and ask for more information because we know that's a key component to this project.
And so we got 6 proposals. We're going to use them all. I think 10-ish spots in the park that we work with Rec and Parks to identify as acceptable. Not sure where the folks are going to want their pieces to be. A lot of stuff like that to sort out. And then with the murals, which you mentioned, there's not really a spot in the park for murals. So those concrete pillars or pipes essentially will be the kind of mural space. That's kind of separate because that doesn't exist currently, but we're kind of working on both in concert. If we get approval for that, and that's not something the artist is going to build, we can build that, just get some structural engineering, put it up, find a spot, and then that's something that can be redone. These are permanent pieces. So once we pay for them, we're going to gift them to the city, and that's why they're concerned about the maintenance budget, because they would own them. The city would own them at that point. We've got other finalists that are kind of on hold to see if these things, initial 6 work out.
We had 4 people in round 2 that we said there may be another round coming up, so they're kind of on hold. Hopefully we get some great proposals out of the first 6. We've been working closely with TCAC, Rec and Parks. We talked to development, I talked to city council, so we're trying to get everyone engaged as well as the art commission, so everyone's aware of the project's moving forward, even though we don't have necessarily specifics to show you, but it's very exciting. I think we're excited to see something happen.
The budget we put in per piece was 40,000. That was just kind of a whack. I mean, we had to put something in there to give them some idea of what they're going for. Doesn't necessarily mean all be it for 40,000. Some could be less, some could be more. We could fall in love with one that's $100,000 and that could change things. We've been pretty successful fundraising so far. We've got approximately $200,000 already committed to the project before really doing any real fundraising. That's mostly from, individuals and civic organizations in the neighborhood going out to, whoever we go out to, or whoever in the community. So, personally, I think it can be really transformative for the park and for the neighborhood. But we just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention in case this is the first time hearing about it, to see if you have any questions, because our goal is to bring these things back once they're voted on. And we've answered any questions with the artists about any of the meetings. And come back in August for, I guess, approval, assuming we get approval from the BBC.
Our understanding that BBC doesn't have actual approval, they're simply a recommendation. The commission is architectural review and doesn't have final say on public property. Right, and we tend to get their support, but from a legal
Yeah.
perspective, they don't, there's nothing. Work that out later.
Yeah.
But they've been engaged and excited for the project.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we would want that without, I guess this meeting is all, what's it gonna be made of? You know, is it appropriate? What's the scale for the space? Is it too big or whatever? So,
So maintenance, safety, obviously we don't want something, well, all they can climb and do a head dive. Some things we left a little vague intentionally because we don't want to constrain the artist too much. But safety and maintenance are two very critical components. So
Ask about a plan potentially, since there's already Malcolm's fountain, for example, and then you'll be adding maybe 6 or 7 other pieces. Is there kind of an overarching vision for the park? Because it'll have quite a dense population, right, of public art pieces.
as you can see from the map, this is, I think, isn't this the largest park in the city base? So it's over 30 acres, I think 32 or 33. And you can see the spots are spread out. So we're not necessarily seeing a cluster of art. And we, hope to engage people as they walk through or walk around the park, that they're experiencing the art from different perspectives. And it's not just one big cluster or the density you're referring to. We intentionally didn't do too many spots around the pond because of that. Piece of Malcolm.
the pond tends to get all the attention for the park. I mean, I know that as being a president of Friends, that's where a lot of the attention and effort goes. And so there's that one adjacent, if you know the park at all, it's like above that ravine, this sledding hill, at the top of that, but that's about the closest one, that we've got to that. To answer your question about an overall like strategic plan, I don't know that there is one. I've been talking to Rec and Parks about kind of developing one for the park. What do you think the park's gonna look like in 5, 10, 15 years? There's some areas that are kind of underutilized from my perspective. But like from a placement standpoint, we have to be really careful. It may sound kind of trivial, but like even like mowing constraints, not putting stuff too close to trees where they can get the decks in there, so they're not having to get off the mowers and hand mow or things like that. And also, living across the street in the park and spending a lot of time in the park and doing all the cleanups in the park, it's heavily used and, fair bit of shenanigans. And so we tried to put things, if they're internal to the park, they're in heavily populated areas. And a lot of them, as you'll see, are on the perimeter where you can see it from the outskirts of the park, which I think, at least I hope, will mitigate some of the potential vandalism or stupidity that might be associated with things.
And my question is so really about opportunity, right? That you have a real opportunity here to establish a vision.
The arts district.
Right,
short
exactly.
form.
Yeah, in so many ways, right?
That was one of my initial, because this has been on my radar for several years now. And one of the points was to kind of try to cling to the moniker of the arts district as the neighborhood changes, as art district, or art studios migrate out. And I don't know that Art in the Park is going to prevent High Street from becoming Bourbon Street, but like in my mind, at least that was kind of one of the impetuses for doing this is, hey, we're known as the art district. We got this monster park. It's, people from the convention center are spilling in, a lot more people see this park
City building.
from market, people at lunch, civic, convention center. A lot more people out of town see it. And also it's heavily, not just for fest and festivals, but like day-to-day usage, it's packed. And so I think it could be transformative for but in the park. So we're very excited.
Jeff, Mary Gray, actually both of you, sorry. Just so I understand, so you're putting out the call for entry and your hope is, you don't know how many artists at this point that you're going to select. Is that true?
We've got,
Are you saying that if you find one person that knocks your socks off, that maybe there'll be one installation at this point?
like,
Okay,
we've got 6 artists submitting proposals that maybe it's one piece or maybe it's 2 pieces. I looked briefly, one of the guys submitted 3 or 4 pieces. So there may be a dozen, maybe 20 pieces that we need to be reviewing. But as we do the jurying, it's artistic merit, it's appropriateness for the park, but it's also budget constraints. So,
Right.
we have to factor in, we've got limited funds to do this. And so if we take one that's $120,000, that would probably preclude us from doing some other stuff, but we've not put any guidelines. We haven't limited ourselves to saying, thou shalt spend no more than
okay.
X.
So it
But we
could be
did say
one,
40,000,
it could,
so
it could be one, it could be 6.
Yeah, I mean,
unlikely to be one, because we did say
Yeah.
roughly 40,000, so if someone comes in with 200, then
Yeah.
they're kind of not paying attention.
I think it's probably gonna be somewhere in the 4 to 5. I mean, 6 maybe. But it also depends on fundraising. So Adam Brulette is a local artist and you guys probably know him.
Sure.
And he has explained to us that, look, you can select a piece and the artist can know that they're in the queue, so to speak, while you do fundraising. So let's say we have, let's say we've been successful with fundraising so far, but let's say we're blown away by some stuff. We can kind of, hey, we like your stuff. We want to do this, but we don't have funds. So put a pin in it. We'll get back to you when we have the funds and they'll go on and do their thing. We'll come back to them. So that's a possibility too. I'd like to get the stuff in sooner.
And
rather than
see it,
later.
yeah. I like the idea of not initially committing to, yes, we're doing 6.
Yeah, no, yeah. I guess, I mean, at some point, somebody else after, I'm not gonna do this again, but, down the road, we just don't want to overpopulate the place so that now there's no more,
Right.
there's no more space. I don't think even if we put 6 in, you probably still have space, but I would be surprised if we got 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback back on fundraising effort.
Mhm.
It is 200,000
Very.
without any images that being shown. What about that? How did you get that 200,000? Probably.
So-
I would love to hear your message.
Well, so most of it is, friends and Canal put in 40,000. We collect money and we take donations and things like that. And we've got, we've been very fortunate, people have been very generous. And so we're constantly looking for stuff to do. Why you continue fundraising, if you've got money you're sitting on, do something with it. So, Friends put in 40, Short North Foundation put in 40, the Short North Civic, in
25.
25.
And these are by far, by multiples, the largest gifts these organizations.
So they're real stakeholders.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think it just goes to show the
Yeah.
local community support. And it, I think it's an overall city project as well, but there's definitely buy-in from local.
What is the city's commitment in all this?
It's not hard work.
Oh,
What a wonderful.
So we're in the infancy, from the recreation and parks perspective. We understand a lot of public art will come towards park spaces. We're hoping that projects like this actually set the tone for how those approach the art commission, how they get approved, and then how we work with the individual organizations. So at this particular point, there hasn't been an ask, although I don't know that there wouldn't be an interest in getting recreation and parks, but there isn't a line item in our budget and there hasn't been an ask for funding. It was more about commitment of possible space so that we could allow there to be a process where art is kind of spontaneously generated by artists for locations within the park that might be unique.
because I can imagine that maybe some utilities,
Like whether, yes, it needs a pad or a lighting, love for the recreation park.
Who's wearing this?
Yeah.
Anyone else? I'm just doing all.
That's where they're.
Staff, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly tell truth and affirm
everything
Sorry to
before.
interrupt.
Yeah. So like, to that point, you know, as we start working through these things, there might be opportunities where we go back to Rec and Parks and say, because one of the artists actually came to town and it's something we hadn't thought about. So he's like, if this piece is set off into the grass, is it possible to have a pathway or some sort of, you know, where the person doesn't have to go out into the grass to get to it, whether it's a paved or, you know, sidewalk or something. And so that might be something where we could go back to Rec and Parks and say, hey, we're gonna put this here, can you put in 8 feet of sidewalk? You know, I'm not,
Which would be a nice
Right.
ADA issue
yeah,
for people.
yeah. And it's something that to be honest, something we haven't really thought about is, you know, these things are gonna be out into the grass. And I don't think they're all gonna be interactive, but if you do have something interactive that's, you know, 10 feet, 6 feet off the sidewalk, it's probably be more than 6 feet, but, it might be interesting to have a way to get to it rather than just walking through grass. But those are all things we'll have to kind of sort out.
Who would be responsible for lighting the piece?
Well, right now, the expectation is that when you submit a proposal, it's everything.
Okay.
So we'll see how those proposals come in. And it also, it's tough for them to judge because there's some areas that are probably a lot cheaper to get electric to than others. And we don't necessarily, I don't have the grid of the park memorized, so, I don't know, I don't know what the exact answer is to that, but I would imagine at least some of them, if not all of them. I don't think all of them will need lighting, but I'm sure at least 1 or 2 probably would need some sort of
And that would involve the city since it's.
potentially. I mean, I think at the very least, we'd have to work through them to get access or something, unless you do something like a solar light, you know. So,
This part belongs to the city.
But I like that the lighting is part of it because of safety of the peace, so it might.
yeah, I mean, our hope, the discussions with the artists were like, well, when you submit it, if it's 40,000, if it's 60,000, it's 100,000, that needs to be it. There can't be, oh yeah, here's another 10, another 15 or whatever, because that's really gonna screw up our budget. Are there any questions for the city about funding?
So I just want to be honest. I think this is a very ambitious and so ambitious that I've not seen anyone try it like this. Like you're attempting almost like 7 installations at once. Yeah. So Goodell Park has been through it. I mean, I know a few young people who've been shot in Goodell Park lately, so it is a thing that Goodell Park needs some safety. I think it's one thing for us to do art and uplift art in spaces, but I do think engaging public spaces with intention is important, especially at Goodell Park. For example, you create murals, you create barriers, you create walls. And I know you're not quite sure on the placement, but murals are actually, I think, safety hazard in a park like this.
So, you mean a big flat? Oh, well, that's the difference in this. So these are gonna be like concrete standpipes.
So
So
they're 60 inches in
they're
diameter.
painted in the round.
And
So
they're spread
kind
out,
of-
so it's not gonna be a wall. They just stack.
Yeah, and you can,
Okay, visuals will help me. I'm a visual
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
person, so I'm
Right.
fine.
And we're going around in the-
There's a top.
I'm sure none of these visuals will help me though. But I do, yeah.
hide behind, it's gonna be like a big movie screen. It would be big, you know, like it said, standpipes that are 60-inch diameter, 8 to 12 feet with space to work and walk in. So it's like immersive. So you can get inside them, not so much where you can get in there and hide.
Not in the pipe.
Yeah. But
But we're very much aware of the shenanigans of like, the trees get limbed up so you can hide under trees and
Yeah.
do things.
And I would also just say, encourage creative space placement throughout the park as you're exploring it. So I heard you say, if there's a sculpture, we may do a landscaping sidewalk, like
No, you absolutely need to. It's not a maybe. You don't create sculptures in grass and then expect people to understand. Like, I'm just, very much excited about what it could be. I just have a lot of curiosity on how you're gonna get to the finish line, because I've been watching how things have kind of, these processes roll. You guys have a lot of front-end advantages with financial investment, which I think is always good. Back is the, organization as far as decision-making to get it done. So I would just say, like, because it's Goodell, less is more. And this are ambitious, like, I think as I look at even the artists, the few artists, that I did know on the list, I think I knew two. I would absolutely love to see us do more sculptures, do more installations that are more, interpretations and art, those kinds of things. I think that Columbus is getting really excited about the word mural in a way where it's overshadowing the goal. So I would encourage this, because to me, Goodell, if anything, we want to change the upscaleness of the park. Murals may go this way with your park, where sculptures and more 3D things would go this way with your park. I hope I'm saying this.
That makes sense.
So those are just my thoughts, and this is just my opinion of through my experiences, because I just think that you do have a super opportunity here. You're connected right behind. The park already has a thing about it that's just better than all the other parks. It just already does. It has that about it. So we just want to, I just would hope that the art keeps it, going up, and in your selection, you're not, when you select, even like in the Short North, we're very eclectic about our selections, right? Even when you select the artist, it's almost like, is there a theme for Goodell Park that could keep this thing under control? For example, when I think about, there's some history there in that park. There's even a style in the fountain, and is there a way to keep it, I guess, before you let artists take it in 50 different directions? So those are my thoughts, and those are all
I
from
have
like,
thoughts to what you're saying. Number one, I'm thinking of Storm King in New York. Have
okay,
you been there? Outdoor sculpture.
I haven't been,
Sculpture
but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It sounds like this could be that for Columbus,
Mhm.
a destination. We are beautiful landscaping and so big sculptures and steel, sculptures, glass, whatever. Each of them is based on the style of the art, and there's enough space around it to really showcase the beauty of that art. I don't think Storm King has a brand, but I don't think the art is chosen based on the brand. So I would argue that, like, let the artist submit the art and see what's curated by the team to see how that comes together.
Every curator needs a concept though.
I agree with you,
So
but
that's what I was speaking to, is just the concept around it.
but what I do like is the list has a lot of local artists, and I feel like that might be the theme. Goodell is loved by so many people, that also don't live here anymore. Like, I have decades of love for that park.
Absolutely.
And I feel like anything in there that showcases art ties it to the memory of like what was great about being in that park. So I guess I would argue that I think it could be looser than tying it to like a theme. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to agree to disagree, just because I'm thinking about the integrity of the park and keeping that park. It's different. Like Goodell is different.
Like
Like,
Miller, which is also different.
if you can plan to go to Goodell, you're already going that direction because you want to cultivate the culture and the arts and stuff like that. So it's absolutely the best spot to engage this kind of park. Like, I just think back to what you're saying, it's like the storm. I like the
Yeah.
sculpture ideas for you.
Like a crossing.
Summer Spray is walking distance.
Yeah, it's right there. So, you know, it's like those.
We are kind of focused on the sculpture side and those, and I don't think 7 is the right. Yeah, if we got 3 in the next year, that's amazing. 5 would be wonderful. 7's just probably not gonna happen. As far as the mural life, but I don't want to get overly focused on that, but part of the thought was those could be repainted every 5 years, and that could be solely focused on local areas. So, but I do understand the point that
Yeah, I do too.
maybe not relevant.
And again, I'm visual. I didn't see a picture of the beam, so I'm sure it's fantastic and probably perfect for the space.
Well,
but-
yeah, it's
And we're,
it's an idea in the
Yeah.
process, that's all.
we're always very conscious. I mean, Friends of Goodell was started in 87 because that park was a dump. And the people around here were tired of it being a dump.
Yeah.
And so everything we do, from working with the city on lighting, to working with the city to replace picnic benches, to tree planting, to park cleanups, it's all focused on beautification, engagement, activation. So that is certainly a theme for this project. This project to me is no different than, I mean, it's much larger, much more expensive. But it's no different than anything else. We have to take it in context of the park, how it's gonna be received, how it's gonna be engaged. You know, is it gonna be interactive? Is it gonna be, you know, does it fit? And that's why part of the rubric is going to be, I don't know the word, you know, artistic merit, but also, is it appropriate for this park? Does it fit, you know, for lack of a better? So.
But you.
Confess will go in the park with this art.
Yeah, I mean,
The sites were picked working around private companies.
you know, stalls and beer tents and
Right.
stages and trees and, yeah, all that stuff, you know. Kind of where we can't plant a tree without factoring that into the mix.
So have you guys built a current village?
We did, I mean,
What kind of-
not much, because we didn't have anything shown. So their scale and material, and since we didn't have that, just like similar to this, we wanted to get on the radar, in case they hadn't heard of it. But, you know, if you want to know how the scale and the material, if I don't have the proposals, there's not much to show you. So it's more just that, hey, this is a thing, it's gonna happen, we'll see in a couple months once we get this.
We don't want to surprise any group organization of that project.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with, Marks for,
Years.
you know, I mean,
Yeah, I see
it's-
the submission coming in. I think that'll answer another question.
Yeah.
For the record also, who in the city have you been working to ensure that the space sits? Thank you so much.
No pressure.
No, yeah, no question. That's part of our transparency component, making sure that we have communication.
Rec and Park Development, GCAC,
Has been engaged a little bit, so they're aware.
Perfect. Any other questions from the board?
Will we see you again?
Yeah.
So the process will be to come back.
yeah,
You'll have a date.
once we get through the jury process and pick. Say we pick 4 pieces, then those things will be sent to you with materials and scope and scale and, you know, lighting and whatnot. For the, I think it's your August meeting, with presumably the approval, and then in hopes that we'll come out of that meeting, ready to, you know, with approval, because I'd like to come out, because it's gonna take to fabricate this stuff, but I would really like to be able to get it in as soon as the weather breaks, in the spring. So, because this has been you know, it seems very fast, but it's also been a long time, so I'd like to get it, you know, through the finish line.
I'm talking my question.
Yeah.
How did you find the 6 artists that you have right now? How did you find them? Did you do an open call that, all Columbus artists saw?
Not all Columbus artists, all like GCA, we work with GCA.
So it was a broad request for qualifications, and that's where we had 76 responses. Some local, some from the state, nationally, and several international submissions.
Yeah. Top 6 that you, there's only 2 names I recognize, or the others from other places?
Guys from Spain, New York, Columbus. Chicago, yeah.
I'm just thinking that maybe it might be helpful that, you know, the commission to give them, we expect to see on this 20.
Mhm.
So I think one of the items that, you know, the level of community engagement that there's some how do they reach out to make come up with idea, not that piece. for safety.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
if
you have
there are things,
checklist, that would be.
it would be much easier for us to come in knowing, we're gonna put together a package of what we think you guys want to see. But if there's stuff that you have curious about or what need to be in that package, certainly.
This would be a great time to tie a theme in, like the history of the park.
We walked the park with one of the artists.
Yeah.
The other part of the artist was, engaged with. Works organization, and so he's more of like a architectural person, so he was looking at historical buildings. So he engaged with folks at Columbus Landmarks and maybe Historical Society or something like that, so, I think that's,
For the other thing.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that,
they haven't been doing it in the back and
Yeah.
you have done research, but that'd be,
right.
that'd be good to put in the package.
Yeah, anything you can pass along, we'll make sure to incorporate that into what we said.
A schedule, so let's say I don't know what's the submission deadline, so if we can get it maybe 2 weeks ahead,
Mhm.
and then oh, well, these are the things that, we would like to see, in the package, and then so we can give them some feedback for, I don't know if you can facilitate that. Because-
Like timeline, we know, or
Yeah, I
you-
saw that.
yeah, if we can make progress in August, great.
And if you have questions outside after this meeting, certainly just, we'll be happy to answer.
For your time, thank you for your energy investment, I appreciate
So much for coming and giving us a heads up.
Thank you, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
it. On to public art strategy Q&A. If you could state your names for the record.
Maria Ramirez. Thomas Reed.
Very good. Can you raise your hand? And do swear to or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth. Very much. We yield the floor to you.
Well, hi, everybody. We're here really without a presentation, but just to continue dialoguing with you about the strategy document now that you've had it for a month. Well, yes. For Maria and I as well. Realize it was time to come back already. Even realize that we've had individual conversations, but not necessarily a chance to preempt anything here today, but we just wanted to keep, our regular cadence of coming, and showing up. We are really nearing the end of, making any changes, finessing the doc. Really receiving final feedback from Department of Public Service and Department of Columbus Water and Power. They have some corrections, minor corrections that they've found related to the work that they do and how it's reflected in the plan. And then, we've been dialoguing with them about the specific recommendations that we make. On our joint letter from the mayor's office and council, but that comes, after they've had a chance to review it as well. And have an opportunity. And so we're hopefully going to be engaging our steering committee in July and, trying to, once we send this off to the design section of the board, we'll have a month with the plan, where it'll then come back and it'll be a finished document that we can publish and share more. Have about 6 more weeks before, in that case. And so we're gonna be active in that time, trying to brief as many folks as we. All have seen us more than anybody. To Shelby's point at the last meeting, we had a lot of like, okay, reintroductions to do out in the community, in the wider community. I will say that one decision we've made as a team recently is, we've given you this full document, which is the 4 parts plus the appendix. The appendix is really in guide for implementation at GCAC. And one of the things that has been confusing is confusing encompasses with the work, and then, you know, separating that from the work that is setting up this program that will come. We plan to publish parts 1 through 4 publicly. And then the implementation guide will become an internal tool for GCAC to set up the program. I have had an opportunity to review it. It's really, it's not a GC. Dialect, so nothing more, nothing new per se, but
Can I ask a real quick question
Please,
here?
yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. Let's see here. I'm actually looking at how was this, strategy developed? And this is in part 1, page 6. And maybe somebody from the city can answer this. It says, in the last couple of sentences of the first paragraph, a need for policy and data-driven public art planning, including a year-long initiative in the early aughts to reestablish the Columbus Arts Commission after decades of inactivity. When was?
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Yeah, when was the commission? I didn't think it was that old.
Yeah, I thought it was new resolution.
And how, but it was never came to fruition until.
I was gonna say, okay, is there, it, yeah, because it just sounds like the, you know, this inactivity would have gone on for decades and that just. Yeah.
It kind of,
Can,
that's my segue, at page 20, in the,
put 2007 in there.
in the inset box, it is not currently within the purview. That's the only thing I found. That was updated last year.
What? So, sorry.
follow that one.
Oh, sorry. CNC's process, create a clear plan for how the artworks within the city section will be maintained. I thought that left our purview last year.
We did do that already. You guys just went through the whole collection. So technically that wouldn't be true. It's a couple of them.
But in.
It's a small
Oh,
one.
it's the bylaws, it's still technically unfinished. So it's just gonna be like twist and straight.
So I'm going.
So technically. Code bylaws, that is under your purview, but really it's not something that the commission's ever done.
Yeah, because
That's
what wasn't one of Lewis's last meetings said. In our purview.
It is correct under the code, it still exists as. But administratively, it's being taken care of. On city staff.
So that's fair, that recommendation. That was what they are.
Within the city of Columbus and Columbus Art Commission process, improve the experience for applicants and increase efficiency. Alignment with the AIPP process to avoid duplicate efforts, introduce mechanisms. And create a clear plan for how the artworks within the city's collection. He's currently within purview. That's what I got.
Okay. It's within the city, so.
It's not our purview.
Not
but
commission, but there's no commission.
Right.
No, city council.
So,
Can I ask you a question? What's been the most difficult part to understand, or your feedback from? Like, has there been a part that's kind of been a little bit more challenging to work through?
I think. Honestly, if you get down to like the nuts and bolts of creating this program and plan, AIPT and how it will, deal with maintenance is one thing, but as you know, these are shared spaces, right? With, many different. The mix as you commission something.
Right.
And depending on even the type of work that's being commissioned, it will have different, with a different type of expertise and different schedule for cleaning. So that is something that I feel is ahead of the city. And, preservation and department of development has done a good job, at least beginning, right? That work of itemizing what's in the city. But that work needs to permeate across the city.
Also, are there any, so some of the things that are happening too, is this new airplane going to help with, like mediating? For example, let's say there is a private art project that has been completed in a neighborhood, it is becoming a public nuisance, it's not on city property, it's, the stakeholders are no longer 501c3s. What do you even, is that answer in there?
I think that aspects of those conundrums are, addressed in the toolkit in the back, where it starts to talk about like how we address and deal with public art. But there's more to be done, especially I do believe that AIPP could become an incredible resource. To be honest, sitting here listening to this presentation and just, I haven't known much about what they're doing, but just hearing it at every step of the way, I saw the need for guidance and support and,
I was thinking about that when they were talking about going back to the artists, to talk about the maintenance, like
Yeah.
the artists.
there's too many
No.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I say is required? Like, this is what I think. But
And I also think if there is an IPP or someone who's stewarding this with them, there should be like like the integrity to a piece, like for example, if you're doing a statue, that thought process around all of it may or may not be something that shouldn't be an option. If we're installing art, we need to do it in the highest,
that's schedule.
form that we can. So I think like that's, having kind of those kind of AIPP moral.
I mean, that's where public art can be a tool for things wider than
Yes.
appreciating our
Yes.
environment. Actually, community conversation that get into cohesiveness of neighborhoods, allowing people to be seen and have a voice and how the neighborhood is developed. And to maybe pick up the pieces where short in the past, like what is the process to addressing things where parties are no longer.
Not seen, and I don't know if this is coming from GCAC, we've not seen the rubric or the assessment for who's going to serve the adjudication. And I know that was a discussion that we had the last time. We would love to, again, so we can make at least some recommendations or see people are being vetted to sit on those, to make sure that we are not doing community a disservice, especially when you talk about old teacher and me, like we want the dynamic of the spectrum of our community. So if it's, grade level or a high school level, is the readability that has, low intelligence. I know that sounds extremely harsh, but it is a factor in all of this.
So maybe they have a disability. What is it? There's some artists that are thriving, that have disabilities, that are not able to get these opportunities because of that disability. Is this AI, I just wonder, are we headed in a direction everyone can get excited?
I'll say this though too, on that point, there's going to be an amount of community engagement or plan, even, for a basic project to be realized in the ways in which that we the ability for everyone to get involved. So for instance, there's the matrix and how people will be kind of slotted into the expertise for a committee adjudicating. Also then the selection team that will be assembled for their projects. For instance, I don't know how, Goodell Park put together the team. How do you put together the team that then made the selection, but that all those opportunities for the community to get involved are not going to be easy, right? And to make real. And so that's going to be something that I think we're going to have to find the best way towards. We have ideas and recommendations in the plan. But just to honestly address, what do you say?
I think they went directly to GCNC.
Yeah, and I think that, again, I think GCAC, I think Jamie has supported them in the best way she can, but again, there is no established process.
Right, no.
I did for her, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's another reason she really wants to see this plan come together, because I think GCAC feels interest and groups and ideas from all corners of the community.
Yep.
And public art, as we all know, requires more of, the wider community to have these successful.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the wider community, page 14, I'm still in section 1. Under values, the first one, center the inclusion of Central Ohio artists. Can you tell me what that means?
In our public art programs,
Yes, yes.
well, I've been talking so much, I'll jump in, but.
So I think we're thinking about it in a variety of ways, because we talk a lot about internally, and I think in the provide educational opportunities and to empower local artists to kind of move work beyond where they are currently, potentially to a next level.
Yes.
A desire for this program to provide some of that support. And we also acknowledge that in launching the program, it's going to get time for us to get the type of infrastructure, I think, internally to be able to do everything. That's the goal, right? That this program will provide support for local artists so that we are building the arts here locally and empowering artists to do more and to grow their own practices.
I guess thank you, Maria. I think when I read it originally, and I think still, to me, reading it, it looks like, we're really going to focus on getting Central Ohio artists' artwork up, and though that's important, I guess the way it's worded, it just.
But I think we have to remember that this plan is not just focused on getting artwork up and out, it's also focused on the education.
Sure.
Right, so education is a huge, I'll probably speak more to that, which I think if you read through, but if you read through the whole packet, like especially around toolkits, education is a really critical component.
I get that, but can you make that more clear in that value statement? I totally get that, but if we can use the word education or stuff, building.
I mean, I do hope that, to Maria's, education is huge for me too. It's all around, not just artists, people commissioning DJ.
Yes.
But I also think there's so many local artists to not just give them the education, but give them the real world experience. Well, there's opportunities that people aren't able to access or know about. And I love the idea of being able to find our local artists to capture a lot of that.
But that's a strategy, right? Like education.
That's a part of the strategy.
That's what that.
Yeah.
I think they'll work hand in hand. Absolutely. So we do want to put a focus on empowering local artists.
Can we, Okay,
And it's providing
Yeah,
opportunity for
empowering.
local artists.
I like that.
Just,
I see what you're saying. I get your
Oh.
solution.
Okay, I don't mean to wordsmith this, but I just, it was.
I do agree, because I do think you're gonna get, I think you're gonna get some feedback on how the local artists feel about this as well, and I think that whole conversation around what is a local artist is vague. I'm a local artist. I'm from here, I'm a local artist. When you bring someone from Spain, you qualify them as a local artist project,
Is used a lot for colleges as well.
then say Columbus based, say Columbus
Yeah.
based. That would help for a lot of this.
Mhm.
Or greater
Central Ohio.
yeah, greater Columbus.
Ways in
Yeah.
which we said it, plan to be fair. That's true. No, I think that honestly, our program will be the strongest if we do focus, on the resources we have here. Um,
Right. So, yeah.
And my heart goes out to you too.
Yeah. That's the way you've done it.
Yeah.
Because this is not an easy.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I feel bad for pointing you.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, it's really good, and, the way that the art commission reflected in the plan, we have said it and had conversations, and, we are going through it and just finessing and fine tuning. We want everyone to feel encouraged at the end of the day by this. It's not meant to be, people feel criticized. It's meant to spur action.
Yeah, I
So-
only texted you, but I just
Yeah.
say to the group that I like how you guys set the table, like how you set it up, you framed the where we are now and like where the vision of where we're going.
We keep being reminded that there is a slew of folks who have been left a cliffhanger on this
Mhm.
project, and that I've read it, we've all read it, but no one's reading that. So just those simple, like, what happened, like, that's gonna be crucial to people feeling comfortable about this plan.
Mhm.
And I do think at some point, like, as a commission, I'd love to review the talking points that you have for the community. Because I do think the way that they receive this plan matters, to the success of how you want people to feel about this good work you've done.
So that, does that mean that from all those, roundtables and meetings and discussions, if you collected emails, you just sent out a quick update kind of email?
I think it's gonna have to be more than that. So
Yeah.
I think, the way that we're gonna try to approach it first is as briefing sessions. So
Yeah.
you really need to distinguish. What we've been doing here is input and feedback. We actually are taking what you're saying and it will be reflected, right? Where at some point just have to stop.
Yeah.
Opportunities to understand it, on just having the a big document on them.
Oh, I didn't even touch it to it. No, I
No,
didn't get an email check in,
Right,
like,
so
and it is
email,
like. to
right,
the-
that's it. So the
Yeah.
idea is, right, reach out to everyone, it will be briefing that for many, many months.
Yeah.
You got like once it's
So
already,
you can hide your eyes. as
Yes,
you-
I'm like. Speaking. And so, and there is confusion, and there's, people want to hear from. I think what's most. This plan, it actually isn't a promise, right?
Yeah.
We're beyond this. And so I think our need, the like concern for me and Maria and us, like, how do we stay, we were very productive, we're moving forward, but how do we continue briefing people, let people understand where this is at, but then what is the work that we're doing now and what's still to come?
Like, what's changed? How about that?
Yeah, sure.
I think people just gonna want to know what an artist, what should I know now and how I approach these assignments?
Mhm. Yeah, and I have a lot of the questions that were asked of us, at all those route tables. Maybe you'll have to,
Maybe you should, remember Marshall when you did the, recorded responses or something?
Oh, yeah, did you get?
yeah, I mean, listen, there's so many ways in which I want to continue engaging. I mean, like, right in this community.
I love to.
I mean, that was really interesting, and if there's some like actual time behind that, I'm sure that we would get, more color.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's art in itself, the responses.
I love it, yeah.
You can take brushstrokes and flag and make it a kiosk, interactive.
Oh, you got This registry that's brought up on page 23 of the first section of part 1. Create an artist registry and pre-qualification list. Will this be an expansion of the registry that already exists in GCA?
Yeah, from what I understand,
Okay.
the GCAC has their registry.
They do.
But this would be, again, on the back of the educational component.
Got it.
Right? These are people that are pre-qualified that you can kind of start to put artists together or look at things.
Yeah, curate a show. Yeah.
Projects, yeah. And so the more that we can do that will require more, education and investment in that.
I'll tell you about the missing period on page 23. Professor Gray.
Conversation with Director Inca, who expressed interest in an artist residency.
Yeah.
I think really exciting, right?
Yes.
That's something I'm excited about and something that many other states have done.
Yes.
In the utility department specifically, so there's even precedent and things to look
Yes.
at there that we can use to inspire.
The Ohio Arts Council has disbanded from all of its former artist residencies, which made me so sad. I thought, they've got their own reason,
Remember, I really talked about
but I think that'd be great.
That was the end of it. I used to run that program.
Oh, really?
I left Ohio Alliance. Haven't had any artists really programs or anything. They're so easy to do. I just wish we have more of a.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll pull for point of order. Is there any other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any other questions?
None.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Definitely. I need a motion to adjourn.
No, we're not done.
More? Sorry. I'm at the adjournment part. I'm sorry. Saturday. No, please. It can be an email. I don't have to do it. Our commission staff, okay. Thank you, John and Maria.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Okay, right. Last year, we did it this year, we just extended that last year and happening. So last Monday. I went out to that night and share the list of pieces and basically I can share.
Not the same company?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
5,000, right?
But we have some share more. Ongoing basis every year and show. But email, and the date is actually July 9th,
Gotcha.
midday. I think I put July 23rd, which is the, August hearing deadline.
That's right.
Okay.
They all my.
I looked at my calendar, I was like, "Holy, that's not."
Sure. Should everybody do that? No, I can't. Oh, you can't, all right.
That's her birthday.
Her birthday.
Um,
Missing a chance for a cake.
Right.
If you have anything to add, send it to me. Have copyright stuff.
Mhm.
and also stuff.
Okay, thank you.
I've also dealt with that too. I just wanted to piggyback on that artistic experience. I am the artist that got, like, during Black Lives Matter, people started putting this stuff up everywhere. They didn't credit one artist when they did it. I have multiple screenshots, emails of people reaching out to me, more concerned about it than I was. So for him to get that, I feel like it's an issue that just never's been solved, because now we're 5 years after the pandemic, and that was conversation piece then. I remember it was conversation piece then, so.
It's been
Well, remember they like were poking us.
the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing what comes back.
Code updates and stuff that we'll talk about. And we'll update. I think when was you available for the for the 9th, July 9th at midday?
Maybe. That's my co-partner, Amanda, who's not in the room at this time. We were hoping to come to the August meeting.
Oh, that's better. I can
Well, we
cover
can
that.
do that.
It's not an official meeting, right?
It'll just be a public meeting.
Oh, we can't do it online then.
It would be great if you could come before too, just in case we have questions. What is your plan for, can I?
What do you want to swear at me first before?
Yeah.
Swear. You gotta swear. Swear at me, please.
Please state your name.
Karen Blue with the Department of Development.
Wonderful. Do you attest to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
And real quick, what is the plan? Show us in August. Because if we get to see sort of the final plan, then I would love to have a pre-meeting, if that's possible.
So we had, two events that were, predominantly invite-only events that were engaging people that had come to previous, meetings. The small group conversations that we had last summer, we brought those folks back together to look at, kind of the first look at what the outcomes will be for the project. The August 16th is a date you should all write down, and I was gonna send you an email on Friday about this, but I'll tell you now, I'll send you an email Friday. August 16th will be the public reveal of the plan as an experience. We are going to be doing that outdoors at Whetstone Park. It's a Saturday at 4:30. We will be feeding you. Yes, Saturday, feeding. It's Saturday, August 16th. So, yeah, so from like 4:30 to, I'm not sure how long it's gonna go, but it might be like 5, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's in the afternoon because the shelter house is booked at 1, so we're doing it in the second half of the day. But that's why we're feeding everybody. So, there will be an outdoor experience, we'll have a naturalist, we'll have a reveal and conversation about the final concepts. What I'm struggling with as far as the August meeting is that I think the August meeting is the Wednesday after that.
That's on.
So I don't love that. So that's what Amanda and I are trying to figure out, is if we can come early or a business meeting or something. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
I'm really good. Every third Wednesday.
Yes.
It's set next month. Because the 9th is not the 3rd.
But that's a business meeting date, not
Okay, what's
the,
the meeting cadence for the meeting?
what would a business meeting date be for August potentially?
Whatever the Wednesday before.
It's the
that
20th.
Day.
So it's the week of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So that,
it's
The
set up.
13th or the 6th? The 13th or the 6th?
So I only come back from Peru.
It's on the 20th.
The business.
I'm gonna,
Oh, not the, I'm sorry, don't listen to me.
Hey, do you need punctuation corrections?
No.
I fly back from Peru on the 13th.
So
That's a room July.
you can have on there.
14th July, here, I think it's on the 16th of July.
So let me, I'll have to double check that there was, I think there's a, again, I think there are out of town dates, not like things ready for you to see issues, but Amanda and I both available at the same time issues. We were working around, so we also have, an exhibition that we're opening at Pecha Projects, a part of Grant Gallery. So we have an artist, Abby Camagate has been the photographer of our whole project. And she's also a visual artist, and so she's doing an exhibition in that space, opening in mid-July. It's kind of a reflection on kind of being in the room for all the engagement and what that kind of artist response to the engagement. So we're still working on the language for all of that, and as soon as I have it, you guys will have it in your hands as well. So August 16th, and then the other date, just to tell you, since I'm giving you dates, is September, wrong year of the calendar. It's not gonna help at all. I think it's September 9. Yes, September 9, we are collaborating with the Webster Center for the Arts, and we're hosting a public art panel conversation about the future of monuments. And we're bringing in public artists from around the country for that event. And we have,
September 9th.
September 9th is a Tuesday.
That went to bed
In the evening.
daytime or
Evening.
Oh, good.
And that will be, Kendall Henry or Kendall, forgetting his last name. He's the public art guy for the state of New York. He'll be the moderator of that conversation. We're looking on the artist invitations for that right now, but those dates just got confirmed before I left town last week. So the big public events, August 16th, and September 9 are the last two kind of big public events around Reimagining Columbus. So I will work with Sophie, on figuring out how we get in front of you guys before those dates, obviously. Yeah, July 16th might be your best bet if you can manage it. I think, Amanda, I think we've got people out of town.
July.
So we will tell you that, by next week at the latest. We'll figure it out.
Just don't talk to each other about business.
Perfect.
Just go and have fun and do it.
There you go.
Not
I can't be in the room with you.
Speaking of.
A final question. Are you all set?
Yeah,
Okay. I was looking at our Facebook page and nothing has been posted 2022.
nothing's changed since then.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm bringing it up. Because
To Sophie.
yeah, maybe
And probably
there's a
there is-
little, the ball had been dropped somewhere.
Is that about the time that Lori left?
Yeah. And
Rooms, no.
I,
Oh,
back to one of them. So I will see about, yes, I will see sitting or reaching.
okay.
Sometimes when it depends on if it's a group or a page, but sometimes there might be like the little three. There's like a thing in the settings where it's like request access. Facebook,
It might be Lewis.
yeah, it might be.
I think it's back that far. I think
It
Lewis
is 2022.
I can't imagine Lori posting. I mean,
No, that was definitely a Lewis.
yeah, that, I
that
didn't
date.
see that.
There's no one else.
2022?
Let's check with Lewis first.
Oh, December.
Access, we're gonna start trolling the page, okay?
Yeah.
Well, I did. Well, I was looking for periods.
Going down. Anything else?
That is it.
That is
Yeah.
it. All right, motion to adjourn.
Oh, let's adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
It's been motion and second.